missing. When we came back from San Diego, my daughter Charlotte immediately got an ear infection, ruptured her eardrum, and then had strep throat. And then my other daughter had strep throat. And in between all of that, we've added to our household with a lovely college-aged student that attends our church named Camille. And so we've just had a really busy transition, and Thanksgiving was last week. And so hopefully we're back into it and ready. So our verse for this week is going to come out of the book of Luke, and it is chapter 12, verse 15. And it says, "And he said to them, 'Take heed and beware of covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of the things he possesses.'" Since Thanksgiving was last Thursday, there had been a lot of talk on the news and just, in newspapers and everywhere about Black Friday, and big Black Friday shopping. And all of my kids, independent of one another, all approached me at some point during the week and said, "Mom, what's Black Friday?" And so I had to explain to them that when you are looking at accounting and you're looking at your what used to be a ledger, and looking at your books, if you owed a debt, then you wrote it in a red ink to show that you didn't have enough, and that there was a debt that needed to be paid, and that if you were doing well and you had a profit, then it was in black ink. And so the phrase came about to be in the black means to have a profit, and that everybody that is part of retail sales looks forward to the day after Thanksgiving, because that's when a lot of people will do their Christmas shopping. And since they're shopping and spending lots of money, it puts them into the black if they have previously been in the red, is what they hope, that they'll make a lot of profit from that. And so all the kids were like, "Oh, okay, I get that, I understand that." And as we were watching different news programs, I don't know if I'm either getting old or the media hype around Black Friday this year was more intense than I previously remember in other years. But everybody just seems to be really all about Black Friday. And it showed people that were camping outside of Best Buy to get a deal on a 42-inch flat screen TV. I think the special was the first 10 people got it for $200 or something like that. And I just thought, how silly. And what our society, and I was being really kind of grouchy about the whole thing, and thinking about, somebody's going to stay in line for like 2 or 3 days to be the first one in the door for a television set. I'm like, for this thing, I'm like, yeah, it's a great deal, but a television set, really? And I remember coming across this verse before, and I remember it just kind of coming back to my recollection about being aware of covetousness, because our life doesn't consist of an abundance of things. And I was just kind of feeling kind of self-righteous, like, I'm glad I'm not camping out for 2 days to get a television set, because I don't want my life to be an abundance of things, of possessing things. But of course the Lord has this verse in scripture, and it says to take heed and beware, and that means to really guard your heart against it. So if you're having to guard your heart against covetousness, against wanting and not being content, then the Lord must know something about the inner workings of people that we need to actively, consciously, purposefully guard our hearts against. That wanting, that desiring, and that discontentment that comes with covetousness. And I'm like, Lord, I wouldn't wait in line for 2 days for a television set. I'm like, is this really, an issue for me right now? So then the question was, okay, so let's say they're having this extraordinary, crazy sale of Bernina long-arm sewing machines, and they're going to give the first 10 people this sewing machine, and they're going to let you have it for $500. And it was just kind of like, okay, point totally taken, because a Bernina long arm sewing machine is around $9,000. And if I could get a long arm sewing machine for $500, I'd be willing to camp out for a week. And suddenly he had to show me that just because I may not be coveting what you covet or what someone else covets doesn't mean that covetousness is not something that's in my heart. And it doesn't mean that I don't need to stand guard over my heart to make sure that I'm not coveting. It's what I'm coveting, that there's always something, and I may look at what someone else is coveting and think that that's just totally stupid. And it's like, well, yeah, because I don't want that thing. But just because I don't want that thing doesn't mean that I'm not wanting or desiring, and therefore not being content in and trusting in the Lord and His provision and His timing and His desire for good in my life. You know, it's like right now I'm really desiring to have a little room built in to the garage so that I have a studio space, and the Lord had to show me that was moving quickly from covetousness to actually being an idol. Like that was taking on way more importance in my heart than it needed to be. And that I have plenty of space to work in my house. I may have to get creative with the space, but I do have it. And so it's just that desiring and that discontentment that, especially this time of year, as we are bombarded with media about Christmas shopping and buying gifts and doing all those things, that we can get so focused on what Luke 12:15 is guarding us against, which is the abundance of things. You know, the more things you have, the more things you have to take care of, the more places you have to find to store these things, and it can become quite burdensome. And I realized in moving out my sewing room that I had to do a couple of weeks ago, that I realized I had more stuff in there than I thought, because it had been put away. But when you pull it all out and kind of dump it into a pile, you can kind of see what's lurking in all of the drawers that you forgot about and all the shelves that you forgot about. And I had to stop and really look, and it's like, do I really need any supplies for sewing? Do I need any other craft projects? I don't. There's plenty here, and it really motivated me to actually work on and finish the projects that I have the materials for, instead of just amassing more materials for future projects that I'm not going to have time to get to. But that wasn't even like the biggest lesson about what the Lord showed me as far as guarding our hearts and coveting, and how the media and retailers and stores just kind of hit us hard this time of year of shopping and overspending and Black Friday, and you got to go out and you got to do this. That I realized all of us, although we may not own a store or have ledgers or do our accounting in that old-fashioned way, all of us at one point we had a debt that we couldn't pay, and it was a spiritual debt because of our fallenness and our sin. We had a debt of righteousness that we could not pay to God, who demands holiness and perfection. And it's so funny that Black Friday is Friday, not like Black Tuesday or whatever, that it is Friday. In John 19:30, when Jesus says that it is finished, as he breathed his last breath on the cross, after suffering and dying on our behalf, when he uttered those words, it is finished, it was truly the only real Black Friday in history. Because all of us that were in debt to God because of our sin, and we had no way of paying and compensating for that what he did on Calvary when he offered up his life for us, it immediately wiped out the debt that we owed. And he totally put us into the black. That he gave us gain, profit, that we not only don't have to suffer death and separation from God because of the debt that we had, but he's given us great, wonderful gain in that we have a relationship that we have with the Lord, that because of that reconciliation that's occurred, And He's provided His Holy Spirit to live inside of us, to conform us and to move our hearts towards God. And He left us with the promise that He's coming back so that we can be physically present with Him always for all of eternity. And I realized, that is a Black Friday that I can get excited about. Because though my sins were like scarlet, He's totally washed me white as snow. And even though I had a debt that I couldn't pay, He paid it for me because of the joy that was set before Him. And that it kind of motivates me to cooperate with the working of the Spirit, to really guard my heart against covetousness, about wanting an abundance of things, of possessing things, because truly to possess Christ and to be possessed by Him is the greatest joy I will ever have. And if possessing an abundance of things inhibits my ability to just delight in His presence and in His person, then I don't want it. And I just love that He's faithful to root those things out, not harshly and meanly, but very gently. He shows us the things that we can become very preoccupied and distracted by. And He tips our face back up to Himself and shows us that our true joy and our true satisfaction comes from having intimate communion with Him, with just that relationship where He is speaking to us and we are praying and seeking His face, and there is that oneness of spirit. So I just pray that as we move into December and all of the busyness with Christmas and preparations and the things that can really distract us, shopping and gifts, which aren't bad things. And I'm not saying don't buy Christmas presents. I'm saying, make sure that we just guard our hearts and know that, like Luke chapter 12 says, that our life does not consist of the abundance of things to possess. Our life is in Him who is life, which is Jesus. He is the way, the truth, and the life. And our abundance of life comes from Him and the power of His Spirit. So I just pray that you guys have a wonderful week this week, and I hope that your Thanksgiving was wonderful. And I'm hoping for more consistencies again with Pause and Ponder. And until next time, Lord bless you. Bye-bye.